Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for coming. My name is Mike Kim, and I'm the Strategic Accounts Manager at Trulioo. Trulioo is a leading provider of global identity verification, ID document verification, and anti-money laundering screening. We offer this through Global Gateway, which is a data marketplace of over 200 trusted and independent sources covering over 4 billion people in more than 60 countries. Since 2010, more than 500 companies across payments, financial services, e-commerce, and gaming have implemented our technology at scale to streamline customer onboarding, bolster KYC compliance programs, and launch in new markets quickly and efficiently. So our mission is to build a framework of trust, promote best privacy practices, and fuel financial inclusion. In short, we aim to build a trust layer into the internet so that businesses and consumers may trust each other online as easily as we do often in real life. It's no surprise that properly identifying whom you're dealing with is often the first step to trusting an individual. And in today's world, where we increasingly share, work, shop, and bank online, trust is essential for businesses in delivering quality customer experiences. So to put things into perspective, the total global revenue from cross-border transactions is expected to reach $2 trillion by 2018. All this from 1.5 billion consumers worldwide, which is expected to grow to 2 billion by 2020. We're talking about truly seamless, borderless e-commerce, which effectively makes the world flatter and smaller. It's very hard to imagine for the average consumer 10 years ago, but now it's the norm. What else is hard to imagine? Some of the largest banks in the US have incurred over 160 billion in fines due to regulatory compliance issues in the past decade. That's a lot of cheese. But what we should be focusing on are the individuals. So how do companies verify customers today? In the worst case scenario, you're not even trying. And that means you're open to a boatload of risks and fraud and penalties. And in the worst case scenario, it's imprisonment and loss of reputation, loss of revenue, and the list goes on. One step up are manual ID checks, which lead to slow, poor customer experience, human errors, and high cost, and lost opportunities, therefore. If you're fortunate, you have a lot of money, but oftentimes not enough time because you're usually driven by more agile competition from the market. So here's a scenario. The powers that be ask you to develop an in-house solution to streamline identity verification because you're capable, obviously. This could involve a few things. First of all, you scope out the project, and at the scale of it, you figure out the work breakdown structure, and then you go out and dig out some of the data sources that might be nice, and then you perhaps throw out an RFI, which could take 3 to 6 months minimum, and then the commercial negotiations once you've selected one. And then here comes the multiple API integrations and optimizations. QA, which often takes too long, beta evaluations, the final launch, and so on, and now you're already 6+ months behind target. But there's more. There's downstream maintenance, there's performance optimizations, employee turnovers and specialties, so on and so on. And you take all of this and multiply it by the number of countries that you're looking to launch in, and you quickly get the gist here. So banks have been engaged in such digital transformation initiatives to meet the challenges from emerging fintechs and growing regulatory obligations, which are always a moving target, and the demands of a lucrative generation of consumers, i.e. millennials, who have come to expect instant and constantly available digital services. So what I'm saying is that all that hard work and hardship isn't necessary. Why go through all of that when you've got a dedicated team like Trulioo that's gone out and done the legwork and built the pipelines, spent the necessary time and budget to serve you all the benefits with the minimum effort required? So why choose Global Gateway? Because scaling shouldn't be this hard. Because we can help you execute quicker and bring to market faster. We can help you cut costs and also reduce your operational needs. So in terms of headcount, you can spend less man hours building and maintaining it and more and actually capitalizing on the business opportunities. So the Global Gateway offers 200 plus unique data sources in over 60 countries, covering 4 billion people in one API. So let's look at the architecture of that API. So Global Gateway is in really the heart of the engine. On the left-hand side, you'll see the customers who can consume Global Gateway through really through two means. One, through our browser application, our customer portal, in which there's a graphical user interface, and you can run manual verifications, as well as bring up and pull old transactions to verify, as well as a dashboard to keep track of your key metrics. We also offer a REST and a SOAP API and serve up the information via JSON and XML to the most popular methods in the industry. So we go through all the checks and balances. On the far right-hand side, you'll see the API data vendors, which, as I mentioned, we are currently plugged into more than 200, which means that there's a lot of API complexity that we've normalized, especially the fields, for instance. We've dealt with thousands and thousands of fields and have distilled them down to a set of meaningful normalized fields for you to consume easily through the API. So what I'll do right now is jump into a bit of action and show you how easily you can verify someone through our Global Gateway. So now I've logged in. As I mentioned, there is a dashboard that shows you the key metrics. This is a dummy account, so there aren't too many transactions. But what we'll focus on is the verification tab. So what I'm going to do is choose a country, and we're in England, so I'll choose United Kingdom. And so at the top, you'll see the rule. This rule portion is where you can actually set the verification rule for this account per country. So the rules really define the verification settings depending on your compliance needs in each region. We can help you build a rule set from scratch to meet your specific needs. Down the left-hand side, you'll see all the fields available for an individual, first name, last name, date of birth, address, postal code, also includes email, phone numbers, and so on and so on. There are some extended fields as well. And then all the columns to the right, each column represents a data source. And it ranges from credit bureaus to consumer data sources, passports, government sources, mobile network operators, and so on. So now what we're going to do is, without having you sit through me typing in all the data, I'll quickly populate this. And we're going to run a verification for Ms. Julia Audi. I'll go ahead and click on the T's and C's. And at this point, what I'd like to do is bring your attention to a very nifty little tool we like to call the developer view. And this is a dynamically generated JSON body of the request, the exact request that I will now go ahead and run through Postman in parallel. So go ahead, paste the body in, and send that. And right over here, I'll show you the same request. Now it's going out and hitting the right data sources, each of those ones in the columns, and verifying each field. And as you can see, right in the front and center, you'll see a verify. That is a binary response based on the rules configured up top here. So you'll either get it verified or non-verified because of the data presented below either passed or didn't pass the rule set that was configured. So right down here, you see a beautiful data matrix per field, per data source. Was it a match or no match or missing? Right over here, you'll see a little red icon. That signifies that there was a hit on one of the international watch lists. And for further info, you can ping our servers and get the details on which lists and what the And then from this data, you can figure out what are the next actions you'll need to take to verify this information, to this customer's information. It may require further enhanced due diligence, or it may not, or this may be good enough for your current compliance needs. Switching back to Postman really quickly, the same output is shown below here. So the transaction ID is a unique identifier which you can use to pull up that transaction again afterward. And also below, you are getting a very neatly and succinctly formed response per data source, per field. You're getting either a match, no match, or missing. So this kind of parsed out response is something you can take, and actually some of our clients will actually consume it exactly this way, and they'll layer their own logic on top of it to verify or not verify a identity. And also, of course, for an API response, you can actually tack on a little more appended data towards the bottom. And it does include the AML watch list info, as I mentioned before. So that was a very quick demo of how we verify someone. And of course, within our API, it is very developer friendly. It's a very standard REST API documentation. You can do everything from quick test authentication to make sure you can connect to our servers, to a very easy post to verify an identity. You can pull that transaction record. Often, if you'd like to get the full metadata as well, we do have a verbose mode as well, with some sample code on the far right, obviously. For configuration, this is a very popular feature with our client developers. So for third-party developers who have done the integration, they often ask us, Trulioo, how can we keep our integration current? And how can we keep our list of countries and the mandatory fields per country current as well? So we have built in some functions here to get consent per country, everything from country codes. We use the 2-letter ISO country codes. Get fields, like all available fields, as well as which ones are mandatory and which ones are optional, and so on and so on. So it's a very standard REST documentation type. But I can obviously provide more information later on. The second layer of verification we provide to augment electronic identity verification is identity document verification. So ID documents like passports, driver's licenses, healthcare cards, national IDs, we can validate the authenticity of that card. And this is a great way to augment it, usually as a second layer of verification. We currently support over 3,500 different types of documents across 97 countries. And again, we are adding more and more functionality and more data sources behind this to make sure that we deliver the best verification rates possible. Once the document validity is either approved or disapproved, there are some follow-up actions as well. So for instance, if it's not verified, there is a selfie facial comparison component that's also available as a fallback. So just to recap, so Global Gateway really is a one-stop solution where you can verify your customers and satisfy your KYC and AML needs, reaching 200 data sources, over 60 countries and 4 billion people, all through one API. Very easily consumed. We provide a lot of data analytics services ancillary to our core services. We currently help some of the largest tech companies in the world scale. So we'd love to help you with your international global expansion strategies as well. Thank you very much.